You don't know? Okay, good. So what we're going to do is the idea of creative genius is actually, I don't know if any of you are familiar with, I call it the 3 C's, our cognitive functioning. The first C, in actualizing and accessing your creative genius, the first C is called cognitive alchemy. Sounds like a big fancy name, right? Alchemy is actually the transformation of gold, of lead into gold. The idea of the transformation of lead into gold, which is what? It means taking something that really is malleable and dirty and transforming it, taking the good out of it and moving it into something that is actually valuable, right? So cognitive is what? That's our brains. And as we move into the senior years, it's so, and you know this, I'm sure you hear this all the time, how important it is to keep our brains active. The neural pathways, adding new information, new ideas, staying creative, keeping our brains and our skills readily available to us. So we're going to talk about the 3 C's. The first one, creative alchemy, cognitive alchemy. The second I call the second C, creative imagination. The creative imagination is the way we use our imagination. The things we can actually, it says, when Einstein discovered his theory of relativity, he wasn't such a big genius scientist. He was, but the way he actually came to that was using his imagination and actually taking his mind someplace else and thinking, is that possible? What if gravity and energy and matter would actually fall? So through that, he created his whole theory, but it was not using actually the scientific knowledge, but it's something we all have in us, which is imagination. It's called images in action. The things when we daydream, our daydreams are actually very, very valuable. The third thing, and this is the most important, the third C, and I want all of you to remember this if you don't remember anything else. The most important is courage. Courage, right? When we don't think we have what it takes anymore, when we think that, maybe things are over, the most important way to access your inner talents is to take risks, no matter what age you are, and to have the courage to fail. Okay, the only way anyone ever discovered anything of any value was because they tried. And what's more important than the success is the process, is the trying, is the effort, because that's what will keep your brain active, and that's what will actually. If you're in an environment where you're afraid and you think you're going to fail, whether you're in the workplace, whether you're in a relationship, no matter what it is, you're never going to give yourself the chance to try. So don't worry about being right or wrong in this workshop. There's nothing right or wrong about accessing your inner genius. What I want you to just understand is just the creative endeavor is what's the most important, right? It's not the right or wrong answer. It's not failing or succeeding. It's actually the effort and the courage, which is the most important thing that anyone can have in life, no matter what you do or who you are. They said that Edison, when he discovered electricity, how many times? It was like 200 times he failed and everyone thought he was a loser. And it was like on the 201st time he finally discovered the light bulb. And that was, if he had listened to all the naysayers, he would have never become who he is. So it doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter where you come from, how you did in school, if you think you're smart or not. That's not what your inner genius is about. It's about you actually being courageous enough say, I have something that I know I can actualize in me, okay? I want everyone, now we're going to start actually shifting our brains, okay? So I want everyone to take their right hand, no, actually your left hand, because it crosses neurologically. So take your left hand, and I want everyone to make a big 6 in the air with your left hand. Big 6 in the air. In the air, everyone make a big 6 in the air with your left hand. Excellent. Now, as you're making a big 6 in the air with your left hand, I want you to take your foot and make a circle going clockwise. You don't want to kick the person next to you, so just make a circle going clockwise, making a 6 in the air, and as you're making a 6 in the air, I want you to make a circle going clockwise. Okay? Okay, good. Now, who can do this? Anyone having trouble doing this? As you're making a big 6 in the air, and it's it's not easy at all. That's why we're doing it. This actually is really neurologically really great for your brain. Yeah, it's challenging, right? Yeah. Anyone who can doing it? You're doing pretty good. You're not doing it? Miriam, how are you doing? Look at this lady back here. She's like catching a lasso. All right, are you moving your foot? Move your foot along, move your foot. You're moving this six, and then you have to create a circle. Okay, good. So that is the first way. We actually are opening up the corpus callosum in the back of your brain, where your right and left brain cross, that opens up the creative pathways. Okay, believe it or not, that opens it up. Okay, so what we're going to do now is a few exercises in what I called cognitive alchemy. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass out some papers. Here, just take a sheet and pass it around. Take a sheet and pass it around. Here, let me. And then take a pen. And we'll get here, these gentlemen back there. Does everyone have a paper and a pen? Oh. My goodness. Okay, great. Does everyone have a pen? Here. Oh, absolutely. Sarah, do we have any more? Is there any more paper there? Pen. The ways that we access. We have the way we understand our lives and we think. But one of the ways we can access our unconscious, which is actually the place where our inner genius is. You're all familiar with the idea of the conscious and the unconscious. Yes? Is everyone familiar with that idea? The conscious is the thoughts we have in our normal life, where we go along. The unconscious are those inner motivations and desires that actually are what motivates us through our life. It's fascinating. So we think that our choices are coming from what we think, but there's a deeper source of wisdom inside us that actually resides in our unconscious mind, right? So we may have gone through life, and even up until now, you may have discovered what it is that motivates you in your unconscious mind. You may think, well, I've made my decisions based on such and such, but there's a deeper source of wisdom inside each person that we're going to actually look at right now. Okay? So what I want you to do is, who in the room is right-handed? Right-handed. Okay. If you're right-handed, hold the pen in your right hand. Who in the room is left-handed? Left-handed. Anyone? Okay, so if everyone, would you like to sit down or come sit here? Are you sure? You just don't look, do you want to come here? I'll move my things. Do you want to sit here? Oh, you have your walker. Come, please. I feel like you're... okay, I want everyone to take the pen in your right hand. Now, it's very important to keep it in your right hand. And I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to listen carefully to the question and write down the answer on the piece of paper. Okay, the question is, with your right hand, if I were an animal, what animal would I be? If I were an animal, what animal would I be? If I were an animal, what animal would I be? I'll explain to you what we're doing after you write down the answer. I don't even know what that is. Ooh. Interesting. Don't think too much. Don't think too much. Let it come from your gut. If I were an animal, what would I be? And then we're going to talk about what this is after in a minute. It's fascinating. Okay? All right, now I want everyone to take their pen, switch hands. Switch hands. Okay? Sarah, did you do this too? Excellent. Now, when you switch hands, I want you to now answer the question I'm going to ask you. If I were an animal, what animal would I be? Now, it can either be the same one you wrote with your right hand, or it can be a different one. You need to switch hands. with the pen, with your left hand, and write down the answer with your left hand. If I were an animal, what animal would I be? It doesn't matter. Spelling doesn't matter. With your left hand. Did you write it with your left hand? Okay, with the left hand, write it. Okay, now, I'm going to explain to you. Has everybody got their answers down? Okay, good. Now, how our unconscious, this is where your inner genius is, in your unconscious. What the unconscious knows is things about us that our conscious mind doesn't know. So the scientists have discovered that we process about 11 bits of information with our conscious mind, with the normal mind we use in our daily activities. About 11 bits of information, I think it's a second. The unconscious processes thousands of bits of information, thousands. So what would you say is a more powerful modality, our unconscious mind or our conscious mind? The unconscious, absolutely. The unconscious is where you can find, as I just said, where your inner genius is. Okay, it's almost like a spiritual thing, actually. It's interesting. So the first animal that you wrote is your right hand. Now, because everybody is right hand dominant in the room, I also am a righty. The right hand symbolizes how we live our daily lives. How we go and we present ourselves into the world, how we interact with people, how we show up, maybe the kind of life you led, what kind of business you went into, what kind of relationships you have. That's your dominant hand, and that has to do with neurology. It's the neurology. The right hand, your dominant hand is connected to your brain, the neurology of your brain, of your consciousness. Okay, so would anyone like to share? So for instance, when I did this exercise, my animal from my right hand was a lion. A lion. You have a lion? What was yours? What was your first, what was the animal? The name of the animal. Did you write it? A bear. A bear. Uh-huh. Oh, interesting. Okay, what was yours? A cat. A cat. Interesting. So what else? Anybody else? Anyone else would like to share what animal they wrote for the first, how you are in your everyday life? A cow. That's so interesting. What about a cow makes you connect with a cow? What about a cow? The qualities of a cow make you feel like you're a cow.
Give you milk.
Ah, interesting.
Give you meat that you can eat.
You know, that is so interesting that you wrote that because you're a caretaker. Did you put that together? You're a person who takes care of people. So she gives of herself. You see how interesting that is? Fascinating. Anybody else like to, Marion, what was yours?
Giraffe.
A giraffe. What do you think a giraffe was? Oh, interesting. Interesting. And towering over it. What was yours? What was your animal? Oh, you just told me a cat. What was yours?
Lioness.
A lioness. Interesting. How about any of you gentlemen? Would anyone like, oh, we have another lion there? We have a bear. I want to ask you, how is it that you connect with a lion in your life?
That's survival.
Ah, excellent. Excellent. Survival. That's what lions do. They're strong, courageous, and they survive. Beautiful. I love that. Anyone else have anything that... Sarah?
I wrote a dog, man's best friend.
You wrote a dog?
Man's best friend.
Excellent. So interesting. Sarah, I have a question for you. What was the... Ask her husband. Are you her husband? What was the animal you wrote with your left hand?
Also a dog.
A dog. So your life, how you show up every day is a best friend, and your unconscious is also a best friend. What you are is a dog, is a best friend, and what you aspire to is also your best friend. So the first thing that you are, that you with your right hand, is actually what you aspire to. The first thing you wrote is what you aspire to. And the second animal in your unconscious is actually what you are. Is actually what you really are. It's what you really are. So interesting. I aspire to be a lion. I don't know how courageous I am. I'd like to be, so I admire anyone who wrote lion down. But what I wrote for my second one was peacock. Isn't that interesting? The peacock. I said, why a peacock? Well, because a peacock. Huh?
Why a peacock?
Because a peacock is colorful and expressive, and that's who I really am. But what I'd really like to be is a lion. Okay, anybody else wrote anything? What was an antelope? Was that your first one or your second one? Your first one was an antelope. Okay. Oh, excellent. That's what you aspired to. But what was your second animal? Oh, you didn't get to it. You didn't get to it. Okay, interesting. A deer. A deer. What is it about a deer that you connect with?
The gentleness and the sweetness.
Oh, beautiful.
And the beauty of it.
The gentleness, the sweetness, and the beauty. Okay, good. So what you can learn from this is what you aspire to is the first one, and what you really are is the second. So if what you really are, your inner being, is not something that connects with the outer one, so then work towards creating the qualities that second animal has, or that the first animal has, into the second. So for instance, if you were a lioness, so you aspire to be a lioness, but really you're a very gentle, sweet person. So it's maybe taking that gentleness and making yourself more brave.
Work on it.
Right, becoming more brave. And then you're going to access that part of you that is, and you're a lion in both cases, right? Excellent. Yeah, and what was yours? What were your two?
Yeah.
Huh?
First one was a bear, the second one was a dog.
Whoa. Interesting. The first one is a bear. How do you relate to a bear?
Always hugging.
Okay. Oh, nice. And the second one was a dog.
Friendship.
Friendship.
Loyalty.
Loyalty and friendship. So how would you see being able to connect the dog to the bear? The bear is hugging, but they're both similar because the dog is so loyal. A bear is more actually ferocious and protective. And that is really how you are. Maybe, but who you really are is the dog. Maybe you have a persona of being, would you say that about yourself? But a dog is really the loyal, like what Sarah said, loyal, always, man's best friend, always being happy with people. Okay, great, excellent. So you can actually do this with your friends. Think about it. Think about what your inner self is versus how you express yourself in real life. Okay, good. Okay, what I want to do with you now is that we can learn to access different parts of our brain, these are sort of brain games we're going to do right now. One is called convergent thinking, which is always finding a solution to a problem, right? Let's say in life you're trying to figure something out, and you're a person who is what's called a convergent thinker. That means you'll usually see things sort of black and white, and you'll come up with a solution. If you are a divergent thinker, that means that you're going to think of all different possibilities to a particular issue or problem, right? And a lot of times what's interesting, kids in school who are divergent thinkers, they think of possibilities, they see more room for development of ideas, usually have a harder time because in school, there's always a right and a wrong answer. But in life, it's not so much like that, is it? There's no usually, life is not so black and white. There's just not one answer to everything. Although most people in our society, the way our society is structured, see things like that. So if you're a person who's creative, or if you're a person who sees potential in things, or you see the convergence of ideas, you probably, they say you felt like maybe a peg in a round hole, right? Or peg in a square hole, I would say. A peg in a square hole. Okay, so what I'd like to do is sort of try to access that ability that you have to be a convergent thinker, to think of the possibilities. And how we do that is I'm going to take just a normal item. Let's just take a cup. A cup, okay? I want you to all take a look at this cup. What I want to do is think of, what do we do with this cup? If you were a divergent thinker, what would you think of that we would do with this cup? We drink from it. We make a bracha and we drink from it. We drink from it. Okay, that's just one use of this cup. That's the normal use. Everyone looks at this cup. But this isn't accessing our inner genius, is it? This is too normal, right? This is just too average. But I know that you, all of you, sitting here can do much better than that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually ask you, take your pens, I'm going to have you look at this cup, and I want you to be a convergent thinker, which means you're going to think of all different ways that this cup can be used. Write it down. I want you to write it down, okay? So I'm going to give you a time frame, and I want you to think of all the different ways and things and uses that this cup can be used for. Come be as creative and out of the box. Convergent thinking is about being out of the box as you possibly can be, okay? So and when I say go, I want you to write it down. And go. Just write down all the different ways you think that you can use this cup. You want to write down? Here. You're so welcome. Excellent. Let's see how creative you all can be, and then I'm going to show you how this can be applied to your life. Excellent. Storage and eat from it. Miriam, what was one of yours? Awesome. You hear what you said? You can play telephone with this. You can attach it. Excellent. Excellent. What was one of yours? Pardon me? Excellent. Excellent. Put flowers in it. Excellent. And fruit. Excellent. Do you want to share an idea? You didn't write that? Okay, no problem. No problem. If you don't want to share, that's fine. What was yours?
Yeah, you can give it to the people, offer them things to drink inside, and also you can place anything you want inside too. You know?
Excellent. Okay, good. Anyone else have an idea? You too?
I use these cups for
Art class. Okay. Okay, good. Good. Put brushes in it. Use it as a holder for something. Okay, great. Brushes. Did you two have any idea of what this could be? What was yours? You look like you have some interesting things. And the tzedakah box. Excellent. Put your pennies in. Perfect. Perfect. How about you guys back there? You have a few. What were yours? Pardon me? A cover. Excellent. Excellent. A mixer. Great. A vase. Great. Anybody? No? Have your cold and put your tissues on all of it. Excellent. Drink from it, make a bracha.
Use a glass, break it for a chasana.
Break it for a chasana. Okay.
Put soup in it. If you're at a restaurant, you don't want to drink from the bowl. You put soup in the cup.
Okay, good. Put soup in it. Okay, if you don't want to drink from it. Okay. You can plant a seed. You can use it as a planter. Okay, good. So what I want you to do here is to get your brains to learn to open to different possibilities. This is how you start. Okay? It's just learning how to shift our brains into seeing simple things in life. Simple things like a silly cup and what we can create with it. And this is how the beginning of accessing your inner genius happens. Okay, how we see small things and how we can actually come to understand to create bigger things from small things. Okay, so now I want to try one more exercise. I want you to, everybody close your eyes for a minute. Now exercise, a mental exercise. A mental exercise. Close your eyes for a minute, yes. Now what I want you to realize is that a lot of times the things we think about in our minds, the language is really just constructs of words, but it's not where a lot of our wisdom comes from. A lot of times the way we feel, the way our bodies feel, the way our intuition works, is really we get access to a deeper wisdom, right? We get access to our deeper desires in life. It's beyond the way we think. It's beyond the way we think, the constructs of language. So what I'm going to do, we're going to try to learn how to solve problems right now by accessing our inner genius. I want you to think of something in your life, a problem or a situation in your life that you would like to alleviate, that you'd like to change, you'd like to transform. Okay? Does everybody have something in your mind, something like that? Huh?
Too many things.
Okay, too many things. Okay, we all have too many things, right? Actually, I'll come back another time maybe. I do a whole workshop on laughter and joy. That gets rid of all our problems. Yeah. Okay, but right now I want you to think of something, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 30 seconds to think out of the box about that situation, okay? And 3 things that are valuable, that are positive about a situation in your life that is challenging. The 3 things you've learned that are actually helpful. Okay? So let's say, I'll give you an example. Let's say I had a situation, I had my son didn't listen to me when he went off to school, not wearing a coat. Okay? It's a simple situation. Or I had an argument with somebody. So with him about that. So what did I learn from that situation? 3 positive solutions that came out. Use your own. I want you to think of something in your own life where you can find 3 possible solutions to it that may be out of the box for you. So for me, maybe out of the box would be I learned not to be such a Jewish mother. I learned that he needs to learn to be responsible for himself. And I learned that I can't always fix everything. I learned that, okay? So I want you to think about, close your eyes for a minute and just think about something. Think about something. And what is this? The first 3 things that come to you are the first 3 things that you need to learn. Okay, don't think too deeply, because it's going to go past your intellect and into your deeper inner wisdom. Okay? Now after you think about it, does everyone have something? Okay, good. Now open your eyes. Open your eyes for a minute. And I want you to just write down 3 things that you either can solve about this situation or that you actually appreciate about it. Okay, you can write that down. That you can solve about this situation. Yeah. Close your eyes. I want you to bring your attention into your heart. And just imagine your heart. Take a deep breath. It's hard to do this actually. This is sort of called a guided visualization. This is the creative imagination part. Take a deep breath in and close your eyes, and I want you to breathe into your heart. Okay, so as you're closing your eyes, I want you to imagine that your heart expands. Right? And as you're imagining that, I want you to think about this situation that you'd like to change. And imagine your heart has a voice and what it would say to you. What would your heart say to you in this situation? Imagine it has a voice and it can talk to you. It can actually speak. If I would, of course, right. But you know what? Actually, there was a reason why you did all that then too. There was a reason why. We think we make mistakes, but the truth is, everything we do is perfectly. No, we don't. I actually don't believe we can make mistakes. Everything is perfectly the way it's supposed to be. You know what? We actually, remember we talked about the unconscious? The unconscious, our mind, not our consciousness, our unconscious, remember, processes more information than what we think. So what's going on is that the mistakes you think you've made in your life or situations you've gotten yourself into are exactly, perfectly the way they were supposed to be. They were ordained by your deeper genius in yourself, because for whatever reasons we need to learn certain lessons in our lifetimes. We need to learn certain things, and the only way we do that is by making mistakes. The only way we do that is by making mistakes. So the way to access and get in touch with and learn to forgive yourself is by listening to the deeper wisdom in your heart as well. So, and does anybody have a voice in their heart that actually told them something other than what they thought? Okay. We think with our heart. The computer is here. The computer is here. The computer is here. But that's not. Excellent, excellent. Hear what you just said, that the listening heart is where we have compassion for people. That Shlomo HaMelech said that. Thank you. Excellent. That it's not just our brains, but our listening heart is where we have compassion not just for others, but for ourselves. For ourselves. And when we learn to listen to that, that's part of actualizing our inner genius. It's listening to the voice. So if you would have a voice that your heart would speak, what would it say to you? Take care of yourself. Be nice to yourself. Excellent. Excellent. Try not to think things too hard. Try not to think things too hard. Anyone else? Right. Right. Nobody can respect. The first word starts is with us. You have to, you can only love, you can only have compassion, you can only give somebody else what you have within, right? And that's where it all starts. So accessing, this is actually just the first part of this, but I think we have to end now. I want to just leave you with this game, okay? I want to leave you with this game, but anyway, thank you, all of you. These 3 dots, this is part of what we call the cognitive alchemy. I want you to, without lifting, you can do this at home and try to figure it out. It'll keep you busy for a couple hours. Some of you who like these kind of mind twisters will like this. You can, without lifting your pen, connect all of these 6 dots. So if you want to turn your paper over, draw 6 dots on there and try to figure it out. And then you'll have to call me up for the answer. Okay? So in the meantime, thank you also. I don't know if you signed in. Oh, I have. If you can all just fill out these workshop evaluations so I can bring them back to the nonprofit help desk. Pardon me? No, only once. You can only lift, you can't lift your pen up. You have to do it like this. Anyway, thank you so much. It was such a pleasure. It was really a pleasure. Thank you. What's the what? Esther Russell. Esther Russell. What's the what?